Hi everybody, my name is Emily Norris with ebnmusic.com. I teach piano and voice lessons to young beginners, and I help you, the parent, with the tools you need to help your child at home. In this video, my goal is to help you know when it's okay to say goodbye to a piano voice teacher, guitar teacher, violin teacher, when it's okay to say goodbye and find somebody else, and also when it's okay to not. Be sure to check that link down below if you're interested in starting piano lessons. I've listed 5 things you're gonna need to do that. I hope you find that helpful. Also, be sure to check out the video from last week where I talk about the roles of teachers and parents when it comes to music lessons. I am a list person, so I am gonna list 4 ways to tell when it's okay to change teachers and 4 ways to tell when you should wait a little bit longer until you switch. Now, let me take this time before I start to mention something important. It is usually never okay to have multiple teachers at the same time. So if your child or you are a piano student, I do not recommend having 2 piano teachers at the same time. So you go to one teacher on Tuesday and one teacher on Thursday. Same thing with any other instrument. I do not recommend you having 2 teachers simply because that can get confusing. The consistency of teaching styles will not be the same, and you and the teacher will most likely get frustrated at some point. Plus, it's usually more expensive. You're paying double. So just to be clear, this is not about having 2 teachers at the same time. This is about when to shift and move to a different teacher altogether. Okay, so let's start when it is okay and might be time to find a different teacher. The first thing, and probably the most practical thing, is you have a logistics problem. That means perhaps your schedule has changed, the teacher's schedule has changed, and the times just don't no longer work for you to have lessons when you usually do. This can definitely happen. Teacher schedules can change. Their lives are as busy as yours, and they might need to change their schedule at some point. So it could be that they needed to block off the time that you usually have lessons. Same thing with you. Maybe you have started a new sport, or your child has started something new, and you just can't take it at that time. That's a very practical problem and totally okay if you need to change teachers at that point. However, I will say if you are going through a big move, so if you are moving away and you love this teacher, consider online lessons. That is totally okay. You don't have to drop that teacher altogether. If you love that teacher, consider doing online lessons. I know that personally, I have a very sweet student who I have taught for 4 years now, and she started with me when she lived here in Texas, where I am, but she has since moved to Wisconsin, and I still get to teach her. I am very lucky. She is an amazing student. So if you or the teacher move away, ask about online lessons. That way, if you are loving your teacher and loving the experience, it doesn't have to stop. Okay, here's number 2. The second way you can tell when it's okay to change a music teacher is if you're not enjoying it anymore, or if your child is not enjoying it anymore. Now, I definitely recommend communicating with the teacher. If you notice a lack of enjoyment, a lack of wanting to go to lessons, a lack of wanting to practice, don't automatically go to changing a teacher. Communicate with that teacher. See if there's anything you can do together, you can work together. Give it a few months after communicating with the teacher, because remember, you only have lessons once a week. So a few months is just like 10 to 12 lessons. If you have communicated with the teacher and despite their best efforts and despite your best efforts, despite your child's best efforts, if they're still not enjoying it, you might need to switch teachers. Or it might be time to move on to a different skill that you're wanting your child to learn. Music might just not be something they want to do. Most teachers will be more than happy to work with you and your child to help them enjoy their instrument. I know that I do. I want the child to enjoy piano and enjoy music. That's my main goal. Okay, so moving on to number 3, when you know it's okay to switch music teachers, is if there is all of a sudden a lack of communication between you and the teacher. When I was taking lessons, I experienced this too. Teachers' lives can change, like I mentioned before. So sometimes they might have gotten too busy, different things happening in their life. So you've noticed that communication is not as good as it used to be. This is usually a sign that the teacher might be burned out and might need a little bit of a break, even though they would probably not want to tell you that. Also, if you notice a lot of time passing by between when you ask them a question and when they answer. Now, if it's just a one-time thing or like every once in a while, this is not cause for concern. But if you have noticed a consistent change in their communication style or in the turnaround time with their communication, talk to them, but also be on the lookout for another music teacher, because these signs usually indicate that this teacher is burned out and might appreciate a little break in her schedule. Okay, and lastly, number 4, when you know it's okay to change music teachers, is if your goals or the teacher's goals have changed. What I mean by that is, let's say that you or your child started when they were really young. A fun teacher would be great for this, a teacher who's really good with beginners. But let's say you've been taking lessons for several years and you're ready to move up. Perhaps this teacher is not qualified to teach a more advanced student. At that time, it is perfectly acceptable to change a music teacher. In fact, I know my specialty is beginners, so I usually do not teach really advanced students. I am always totally okay with telling a parent or a student that, I don't think that I am going to help meet the goals that you're wanting, so here is a teacher that I recommend for your goals. Most teachers are happy to do that. So when you notice that your goals or your child's goals are different from the teacher's, it's time to change to someone else. But always communicate with the teacher first. In addition to becoming more advanced in your musicianship, it could be that you're wanting to focus on a different genre. So it could be that you're only wanting to sing pop music or sing musical theater or play classical music or start accompanying or something like that. So if your goals have changed and are different from what the teacher is comfortable with teaching, yes, definitely look for another music teacher. Talk to your current teacher, because they will probably recommend somebody in the area that they know who will help. My last subcategory under goals is if the practice expectations have changed. So if you checked out my video from a couple of weeks ago where I mentioned that in order to look for a good music teacher, you want to check to see what their expectations are with practicing. Now, if you've done that, but the teachers has changed and you're not ready to change with them, then it's time to look for someone else. So if the teacher went from expecting practice every now and then to practicing 30 minutes every day, and you don't think you can meet that, or your child can't meet that, yes, definitely time to look for someone else. Okay, so let's review the 4 ways that you can know when it's time to change music teachers. First of all, a logistics problem, if schedules have changed, things like that. Number 2, if you or your child are not enjoying it anymore. Number 3, you've noticed a lack of communication lately between you and the teacher. And number 4, your goals or the teacher's goals have changed since starting, and that teacher can't meet your goals anymore. I wanted to end with talking about 4 quick things of when to not switch. So if you encounter these 4 things, don't consider switching music teachers right away. This could just mean you're hitting a plateau in your learning and you just need to amp it up a little bit by talking to your current teacher. The first thing that might happen in your music learning is your or your child's progress has slowed. You might think this means that this teacher isn't helping, or you might just need a change of scenery, but not necessarily. A lot of times people think that progress should go like this. Start from nothing and you're just gradually moving up. But really, progress looks something like this. You have peaks and valleys, so you're progressing a lot, and then you slow down. You're progressing a little more, slow down. You all of a sudden progress a lot, you get the idea. But notice the trend. The trend is constantly moving up, even though there's peaks and valleys within those. So if you have hit an area in your learning or in your child's learning that has gone down or not as good as you think, don't switch teachers yet. Communicate with your current one and talk about how you can get the progress a little more steady, because it happens. The second thing that might happen in the course of your learning, which doesn't mean you need to change teachers, is a price increase with your current teacher. Some teachers hike their prices up suddenly, so every 4 to 5 years they will hike it up quite a bit. It's totally understandable that this can be a turnoff, and you might be loving this other teacher that you're seeing on social media and they're great and they're cheaper. Don't switch teachers just because of the price. Of course, you have to consider pricing and being sure it works with your budget. But don't let that be the only reason that you need to switch. Teachers are sometimes very willing to work with you, although don't expect them to lower their price just for you, but I'm sure that there's something that could be worked out. Teachers are running businesses too, so just like other places that you go shopping for goods or services, prices increase, and it's just part of life, right? But again, always communicate with the teacher, let them know your concerns. Number 3, this is my favorite one to consider. A third thing that might happen in the course of your learning is you start to compare yourself or your child to others. Never compare your or your child's progress to somebody else. I heard this phrase from someone, I can't remember who it was, but I love this phrase. Comparison is the thief of joy. When you start comparing yourself to where you think you should be or where you think your child should be, that is a recipe for disaster, and a new teacher is not going to change that. So don't compare to others. Your progress is your own. Your child's progress is their own. So our goal is to nurture your or your child's progress and not comparing them to others. And number 4, a fourth thing that might happen in your music learning to make you want to switch teachers, but you shouldn't, is a lack of discipline. By discipline, I mean you're just not practicing like you should. Your child isn't practicing like they should. It's not that they don't dislike it. It's just that, it's just not, don't feel like practicing. Some people think that switching a teacher will help to fix this, and it might for a little bit, but it will just go right back to where it was even with a new teacher. Discipline is something that music lessons definitely teach. So if you or your child aren't practicing like you should, but you're still enjoying it, consider putting in some incentives for yourself or your child. Be sure to check out last week's video where I talk about some incentives and some ideas that you can do to encourage that practicing. So don't let lack of discipline keep you from staying with your current teacher. Okay, so let's recap the 4 things that might happen in your music learning that might make you want to switch teachers, but you shouldn't. And that is if progress has slowed, if the price has increased, if you have started comparing you or your child's progress and you don't like it, and 4, if you've noticed a lack of discipline on you or your child's part. Okay, I think that about wraps it up. Please comment below, talk to me, let me know what you think. Have you encountered things like this if you're a teacher or a parent? What have you encountered when switching music teachers? Is there anything that I missed? I love to hear from you. All of my information too is listed in the description. Facebook, Instagram, things like that, and my website is all mentioned in the description. So contact me, say hi, let me know if there's anything you want to learn, and I look forward to hearing from you. Continue making beautiful music. Goodbye, everybody. See you next time.